You're listening to the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast, episode 92. How to find and then solve for the issue, missing piece, or weakness that, when fixed, will create the biggest improvement for your teen and their study, results, and confidence. I'm Katie Jones, and with over 15 years in education as an award-winning high school teacher, international external examiner, and as a study coach, I've helped thousands of students skyrocket their results and confidence. And this podcast is where I share all my insights, tactics, and tips with you, the parent, so you can help your hardworking teen get happy, smart, and successful in their study, and have you both enjoy the journey along the way. This is the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast. Hey VIPs, how are you? I'm doing good. I have been planning what I'm going to do for the 100th podcast episode because we're on 92 right now, and I've had about 92 ideas of cool things that we could do, and I'm almost set on what it's going to look like and how I would love you to be involved. So stay tuned for that. I really want it to be something that is ultra helpful to you and your teen, not just like a celebration thing about the podcast or me or Rock Solid Study. I want it to be something super valuable. So it's not just fun and cake and candles. So now I'm kind of wondering how I could involve the cake. So more to come on that soon. As always, make sure you are subscribed to my email list to get the insider info and be the first to know about anything that I do or produce or release. You can do that by requesting the free parent guide. 3 huge mistakes even smart students make in exams and assignments. It is on the Rock Solid Study website. You pop in your email address, I send it to you, and then you get my weekly or otherwise emails. Now, into today's episode and thinking about how to decide what to do if your teen wants to improve their study or performance academically. They might want better results. They might want to be studying less if they are overworking. They might want to be less stressed. They might want to feel more confident or just feel or be more in control. When we want to improve something, there may well be a lot of different ways to go about doing it. If we think about an athlete, perhaps, who wants to get better at their 100-meter sprint, let's say. Now, they could work on their start out of the blocks. They could work on their arm and leg coordination or posture while they're sprinting. They could do leg strength training to build muscle and power, or they might change their nutrition. And what they choose to do or what they should do is likely to be different for different athletes. There is not a one-size-fits-all improvement, which is obviously why top athletes have coaches to be able to identify what their current strengths and weaknesses and areas for improvement are. So the more focused question is not just how can I get better or how can I do this or stop doing that, but what should I work on first in order to achieve the thing that I want? And the answer, at least in my book, is to work on the thing that is going to give the greatest return fastest. So is there something foundational that's missing and needs to be put in place or changed in some way in order for any other changes to have an impact? Or out of all the factors at play here, what is the weakest link? What is the thing that if we just improve that or put in place that one thing, it will make a huge difference across the board? Now, that doesn't mean it's the only thing. In fact, once we solve for or fix the weakest link, there'll likely be a new weakest link, right? But what it does mean is that we won't be wasting time and effort on improving and making changes to something with little result or impact to show for it. I recently had a consult with one of my new next level students, and her mum told me that before doing the 10-week program, she'd previously done some tutoring with Kit McGrath, but it wasn't, unfortunately, making much of a difference. And this is nothing to do with that company or what they're doing or their methods. What she said was that they mainly focused on spelling and literacy to help her daughter improve her English results. But her spelling was actually at her age level. So they kind of realized that that wasn't what was needed. It wasn't making a huge difference. And like I said, it was nothing to do with the service being provided. It was just that wasn't the thing that was needed in order to give her the change or the new results that she wanted. And you know I like to use the analogy of the car without wheels. So if the car is not moving, and we tried to improve its performance by putting more fuel in it, and it's still not moving, it is not that the car is no good. It's not that the fuel is no good. It's just that that wasn't the thing holding it back. It was the fact that there were no wheels on the car. So if this student's weakest link in English was indeed her spelling and vocabulary, then chances are that would have made a significant difference. And honestly, probably not just in English. But that wasn't what was limiting her. Just like the thing stopping the car from performing at its potential is the fact that it has no wheels. And here's the thing. We wouldn't even have to put super amazing wheels on that car, would we, to see a big difference in performance? We could probably put the wheels from my Toyota Camry onto a Tesla or a Porsche, and it would still make a massive difference to that car's performance if it was previously sat there with no wheels. I've got no idea if you can actually do that. Probably not, but you get the point. You can make a big difference when you identify and then solve for the actual specific weak link in whatever it is that you are trying to achieve. And that is how students make big jumps, even with just one or two concepts or skills that they did not have before. Because let's think about this for a moment. When we consider your teen study, they have loads of different things to work on, tasks to produce and tackle in their study. There are exams, essays, presentations or speeches, everyday classwork and homework questions, note-taking, research, group work, assessment that they can take in notes for, and assessment that they have to pretty much memorize everything for. There's assessment where they know what the question is going to be and even the success criteria they're going to be marked against. And then there are exams and assessments where they don't know what the questions are going to be or what the mark scheme might say. So it can be tricky to figure out what is holding them back. So I hope that I can simplify it all a little bit here today. The key is to work out or even discover, because sometimes it could be something you didn't even realize was a thing, the weakest link, the skill or tactic or technique or strategy or piece of knowledge or understanding that will, yes, fix that issue, but also ideally elevate everything else as well. And in my experience, the most common and most significant weakest link for students in high school in general is the skill of applying their subject knowledge to the task or question. In other words, that is being able to dissect the wording of the question to know exactly what it's asking, knowing how to respond to exactly what the question demands, and do it in a way that meets the requirements of the mark scheme. Now, I discovered this in my first ever external examiner training and marking operation, and then continued to see it year after year after year for over 17 years now in other roles like coursework moderation, assessment consultancy for schools, my daily teaching in the classroom, and every external examination that I have either marked for, been on a scrutiny panel or writing panel for. Lacking the skill of application of knowledge, so that's things like exam technique, essay strategy, getting savvy with mark schemes, and of course that good old phrase of studying smarter, not harder. That's what I see catching out and letting down so many students. It's the huge gap that I set out to fill with the 10-week grade transformation program and next level coaching. And one simple way to see if application is the missing piece for your teen is to simply ask them this. What would you rate your subject knowledge as on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you rate your subject knowledge as on a scale of 1 to 10? Because the study success formula is simply knowledge plus application of that knowledge equals success. Now, definitely go back to the very first episode of this podcast for more on that. Knowledge plus the skills of application, to put it across, is what equals study success. But if we asked your teen, hey, how would you rate your skills of knowledge application? They would probably look at us a little bit blankly. Even if we asked, how is your exam technique? Or how well do your essays actually answer the question? Or how do you know exactly what a question is asking you to do if it says discuss? Or what would be on the marking criteria for this particular question? They might have some thoughts, but it likely wouldn't be as clear-cut for them to answer. So do feel free to use those as secondary questions if you would like. But given that most students and schools and teachers as well are a lot more focused on and aware of the subject knowledge part, then this is the thing that your teen will most likely be able to answer most accurately and easily. And here's how to consider their score. And yes, they might have different scores for different subjects, and that is totally fine. You could do this exercise subject by subject, or you could then come up with an average overall. But if they give a 7 or above out of 10, then it's likely that their subject knowledge is not the weakest link in their study and grades. In which case, subject tutoring or doing more research on a topic or writing more notes or doing more reading for the subject probably won't make that much difference. I'm not saying it won't make any difference, but it likely isn't the weakest link. If it's a 6 or below, then I would suggest working on their subject knowledge, whether that's with support from their teacher, an outside tutor or company, or good old YouTube or textbooks. Whatever it is, I would recommend that they do want to bump up that subject knowledge. And if you both think that their skills of application and their subject knowledge are both a little bit on the low side, or very much on the low side, then consider tackling both of these, because one without the other just doesn't work. We cannot rely on great exam technique, for example, if we don't actually know the subject content. We're still not going to get great marks. And we can't rely on great subject knowledge to be great at acing exams if we don't know how to dissect the wording of the questions and can't predict what the mark scheme will award credit for. So rather than trying to take action based on what potential fixes might be available or at least familiar and thinking, hey, let's try this and see if it helps, see if you can switch things and consider it the other way by asking, hey, what is the weakest link here? Is it subject knowledge and understanding the topic, in which case let's address that? Or is it not being confident or sure on how to apply that information to a question or task and in a way that meets the top mark scheme criteria? Now, if you do that rating, and you figure out that having the skills of application, or even both application and having better ways to learn, understand, and retain subject knowledge would be a massive help, then please do check out the 10-week Grade Transformation Program. I will put a link to it in the show notes, and you can also go to the Rock Solid Study website and click on program, or simply type in www.gradetransformation.com/join, and that will take you to the summary page with all of the information and the enrollment link. As always, any questions, just email support@rocksolidstudy.com. If you are finding this podcast helpful in any way, and you have any friends or family who might also find it helpful, or maybe you are in a school parents WhatsApp group, then take a screenshot of this episode and forward it to them. And both I and they will be super grateful. Have a great rest of your week. Here's to finding and fixing your teen's weakest link. See you next week. Bye. If you're ready to have your teen achieve their best possible results with less stress, then I want to invite you to enroll them in the 10-week Grade Transformation Program, where they're going to learn the key concepts, skills, and strategies to catapult their performance in assessments and exams. It's risk-free. They either achieve bigger and better results with a whole lot more confidence in 10 weeks, or we refund you in full. Just head over to www.rocksolidstudy.com/program, and I'll see you there.